Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome back to the magical Krown's Crypto Cave.
Well, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave, and thank you for that beautiful introduction, Mrs. Elsa over there, who's now found herself on a couch, and we actually had to redo that take a few times just because Elsa can't stop fucking laughing. Anyways, glad to be back once again, and holy fucking moly, we've seen some price action since we last spoke, so I want to follow up on that. I want to follow up exactly what I'm looking at right now, and the next sort of trade ideas that are kind of emerging at the current moment in time. So I suppose I won't waste any more time, but I do want to wish you a happy and healthy and perhaps even profitable start to your Friday as well. Do want to wish you the best and the happiest of the happiest as well. With that said, let's get into the live scene and talk about some damn Bitcoins. Wait, but before that, I do want to mention that I do have my sale going on for the rest of the week. That means until Sunday, which I've been failing to mention, which is just, people probably want to know that. People probably want to know when it actually ends. It would be on Sunday. And that goes for the 20% period off with the code right there, old20 OLD in all capitals, then 20 flashing it right now. For all three programs, the first program being the technical analysis program, the second program being the options program. Both of those programs are 35-hour plus long programs each. Each of them is quite literally 35 hours or a little bit longer, I think, for the technical analysis program now. And that means that for myself, I always want to make sure that people have the time available to really dedicate into something like that. Because if you don't have the time available, then you're not going to get too much out of it, right? You still have to put in the work, of course. Anyway, it's a technical analysis program, obviously a all-encompassing technical, perhaps not obviously, but an all-encompassing technical analysis program, not just focused on technical analysis, but also trading strategies, risk and position management, understanding underlying market dynamics, and then, of course, access into the private members Discord community, and then access to proprietary indicators. The options program is similar to that, except just only focused on the derivative products options. I would strongly suggest working through technical analysis first before going on to options, as technical analysis, while it's not necessary to do options, it's gonna make your options trading a lot more smooth and more optimal, essentially, especially in the way that I kind of presented there. I do take liberties with assuming that very, 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 very basic technical analysis. Of course, some more sophisticated things you can do even better, but even with just the basic knowledge, I wanted to show that it makes this incredibly more powerful. And then, of course, the Joule indicators, a little bit more instant gratification. That is just access to 5 proprietary indicators, of which the Joule is kind of like the king of them all. And again, not a 35-hour plus long program, just a few videos on how to actually use the indicators and nothing else. So with all of that said, I'll leave it off right there. As always, make sure that you take advantage of the free content first if you haven't already. The Technical Analysis 101 playlist and then the Options 101 playlist are both 100% free in my YouTube channel. So definitely look at that to make sure that it's a good fit, and then obviously read the reviews as well. Anyways, let's take this off. Always just weird when you shill yourself, but let's get into the actual price action right now, as Bitcoin having that pretty fucking massive $500 move down that I was speaking about earlier. So if you tune into the video either yesterday or today, I was saying that we're gonna inevitably be getting the 4-hour total golden cross today, actually, or perhaps early tomorrow, as long as Bitcoin does not have a $500 to $600 dump. In the meantime, well, what do we have? We have a fucking $500 dump right in my face right here, from 10.9 all the way down to 225 on Mexico. So actually a little bit more than that, almost $700 drop right there. And more importantly, we spoke about this on stream, but I always fear that the risk management portion of the stream gets a little bit maybe overshot. But as soon as Bitcoin essentially headed back down below this 10,750 pivot right here, and at a last resort the 10,700 level right here, that the sort of like immediate bullish case was certainly very much pushed off the table, and that was when we were going to be looking for a move back down to the low side of the range. But the thing is, though, is that as long as Bitcoin's kind of holding on to this region right here, I actually do have a little bit of hopium kind of still engaged for myself, of course. But as far as the trader goes, the way that I'm looking at this is agnostic, essentially. If Bitcoin does lose this area right here, then that tells me that the death cross does want to still take precedence. This was a fake out, and we're likely going to be heading back down, not just down to about 9,900, but probably back down to the low side of the range. Probably that would put us around 96, 97-ish region, down around here. But I really need to see a 4-hour total both opening and closing below this 200 exponential moving average right here, the purple moving average, right around about 10,300, a few ticks above there. Even a close below, I think, would be pretty damning, actually. We really don't want to see this area broken. If you are bullish right now, what you want to see is actually a bunch of wicks being accumulated in this region, right above all closing above the 200 exponential moving average. It doesn't matter if we go even lower, that's completely fine. But as long as we close above this region, that's essentially what you're looking for. And then I'd be looking for, perhaps over, after a day or two, then Bitcoin could test some upside after this basically stop hunt right here. But that's essentially what's at stake right now. Do we want to continue to play out the death cross, or is this a hint before the actual golden cross gets played out? Of course, it is incredibly likely that when you get these sort of crosses in play, that they are going to get tested. That's completely normal, completely natural. And I just realized that I forgot to turn my light on, but I'm kind of liking the no light scene right now. Tell me if you like it as well. Maybe you like a little bit more lit up, but but I'm kind of enjoying the actual cave vibes of this right now. It makes my face look extra radioactive, which is kind of fucked up. Anyways, I've seen Chernobyl, and I'm actually really disturbed by it. Anyways, so yeah, as you can see right now, Bitcoin, we've only played a couple of dildos in this region thus far. It's really not enough time to kind of let elapse. If you are going to look at the more optimistic case, and of course the bearish case would be really helped out by breaking this sooner rather than later. Again, this area being the 10,300-ish region, 4-hour total close below there, and I would not just look for continuation down to 9,900, as we spoke about before, but actually down to the low side of the range at around 96 to 97 down here. That's one thing. That's kind of what's at stake right now. And again, by the same token, for the upside, just don't want to see the 200 exponential moving average break. And if we can hold it for the next day and a half, 2 days, or something like that. Now I'd be looking for things to kind of just slowly but surely float their way on up, and this gets kind of interpreted as a little bit of a bear trap and a little bit of a stop hunt as well. Both one and the same. But here's the thing. Let's go over here to CMEs, because CMEs have now closed for the day, and also by the nature of it, the week. And I really don't like what I see actually here. If I was just looking at CMEs, I would say that this is kind of nasty actually. Now, yes, do we have do we have hidden bullish evidence going on the RSI down here? Technically, yes, we do. And usually that's going to get you back up to the top side of your range. In this case, about 11.5, maybe even 12,000 bucks. But the fact is, I really wanted to see this close above the red 10 symbol to hold on to that bullish bias. Closing below kind of makes me feel like this is setting up for perhaps some nastiness next week, or at least it's potential. It's very much in the cards. So make no mistake, as we've been saying for the past really like the past like 2.5 months, but more intently in the last week or so, as long as Bitcoin's caught within this within the formation that we're in right now, this ascending triangle, there is certainly very much a consideration for the downside. It's always going to be there as long as we're living within this. This is a bearish formation, right? And the measure move on this, if we actually break to the downside below that 9,500-ish level right here, which actually does line up with the 382 Fibonacci retracement right here, I would be looking at a move all the way down to about 6,700 is technically where that'd be pointing. Now, I do think that we would likely have bounced along the way. 8,900 would be a first area, then 8,500 right here for the good old Gap boys, down around from June 13th, if you remember that one, still very much present. And then, of course, I'll be looking at the 200 simple and 377 exponential moving average somewhere in the mid 7,000s. And then, yep, the full-on measure move down to like 66, 67 is what essentially I'll be looking towards. However, there's a couple of competing narratives going on right now, right? So we spoke about this earlier, that CME's right over here looking to fill the gap. I do consider this a gap fill. This is, Elsa's having a laugh right now. She understands gap fills as something else, but in the context of trading, completely different. And what we see right here takes a little bit of an art aside, but I would consider this a gap fill. Yes, it doesn't need to be exactly 100% in there. And when talking about gaps, I really want to see things on a daily. So for the people who are going down to a 4, I would say, Krown, it's all the way down here. It's at 10,100. Well, kind of is, yeah. But the daily is what you really want to be focusing on during something like this, especially on these more pivotal pieces of price action. As I adjust my other screens over there, there we go. And also on the daily right here for CMEs, we actually did close below the yellow 20-month exponential moving average, so we have lost that right now. Now this is not a death sentence in and of itself, but does put a little bit of downwards pressure on price action. But I would say on first pass, the bounce was bought up. I actually did end up buying down there a little bit. So to follow up on my own trading activities, I want to show my own accounts right here on Derivit. What I did was, as soon as we dropped down below, what was it, like 10, whatever level we spoke about, like 10,650, 10,700, I sold a lot of these December futures that I was long on from before. and I took profit on them, and then I actually shorted some calls against my positions right here. And then once we got down to this level, once we actually filled the gap right here, that's when I actually bought back the position, and I actually put on even a little bit more. So you do see that my average price is a little bit lower than where we are right now. That's essentially consistent with where the gap is, as this does have about a $200 premium on price action, as you can see, as it's trading at about 10.6 right now, and spot's trading about $200 lower than that. So that put me somewhere right around here, actually, right around the 10.2 region. So I did end up buying that, and the reason why I'm buying it is because is not because I'm 100% convinced that Bitcoin has 100% upside potential right here. No, it's just that as a trader, I'm happy to put on risk around these major pivots, because if I end up being wrong, I don't have to risk all that much to figure out if I'm going to be wrong on that trade. So I like that. And of course, just pulling in the profits before, I'm completely happy with that, right? That's the whole art of trading. Even though the setup was looking good, even though the setup was looking like it wanted a little bit more, as soon as we took out this level right here, once again, that was that was the risk management area. Actually, I think I still have it in. Yeah, I had it right here at 730 actually, to be fair. Anyways, as soon as we lost that, closed some of the spot to kind of wrap it up, and then rebought down here. Again, this one's a little bit more of a risky thing, but as you know, it's a very well-defined area, because not only do we have the 200 exponential moving average coming in right around here, but also the 50, but basically all all time frames are showing all major moving averages within this region. The higher time frame that we go, in fact, the more important. See the 12-hour, everything's bunched up around 10.3. See the daily, everything's bunched up around 10.3. To see the 2-day, everything's bunched up. I mean, we got the 10.2 and the 10.3 level right here that we're currently holding up above still a little bit. We actually dumped all the way down to the red 10 simple there. And the 3-day, which actually does close today, dumped all the way down to the yellow 21 exponential moving average, and thus far still above actually all major moving averages as it stands. Or sorry, no. It is not above the 10 right now. It's about $10 below, but that's a fucking fart and a sneeze for Bitcoin. So I would be looking at this as, to wrap this one up on the 3-day, we are going to be closing this later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, which is in 1 hour and about 19 minutes. And my main point with this is that if we do close above the red 10 symbol, that's not like a win for the bulls in and of itself. It doesn't really tell us anything, but it offers up another very easy way to be trading this, right? As we have another massive doji on a higher time frame, which is usually easy trading right here. And just by looking at this and assuming that it closes something like this, something like a doji low, that would say that hey, if we take out the low side of this coming into the next 3-day dildo, I suppose, then I'd be looking for a move all the way back down to the low side of the range, 9,700 right here. So that's what from action to closure at about $600. About $600 play right there, potentially pretty damn good. Very, very much tradable. By the same token, to the upside, if we take out the upside of this at 10,950, and I'm going to go over some ways in the lower time frames in just a bit to kind of decide, a little bit more of a preeminent thing of doing this. But if that were to happen, I would be looking for a move to the top side of the range, somewhere right around 11.5, maybe even 12,000. But 11.5 would be more likely. 11.3, 11.5, kind of I look to synonymously speaking. Anyways, I need to take a sip of this water, man. I'm fucking thirsty right now. Oh, good to go. Okay. Anyways, while we're on here on the higher time frames, it is still worth mentioning that with the 3 days closing later tonight, again in just a little bit less than just a little bit over 1 hour, we actually will have a chance to cross these guys to the upside. Although, as you can see right now, it's pretty fucking weak. So the more lift off that Bitcoin can get before closure, the better. But these technically will be to the upside thus far. Looking at 3-day RSI, we do see that it's actually going to look like it's getting rejected by the exponential if we do end here. This is not what I wanted to see. What I really wanted to see coming into today was actually something like this, which I'm now now I'm realizing that my drawing tools are not going to be on here, but it was something like this, right? We're looking at a nice little falling pizza, right? Great, and we actually broke out to the upside, but I really wanted to see us maintain the exponential on it. If we actually end this as a rejection, I would call this a failure, of a breakout failure right here. So again, that's kind of the next piece of next piece of structural integrity that I was really looking for to be built into the structure, and we look like we're not going to get it actually. So there certainly are some major concerns here for Bitcoin, but the way to trade it to the downside, pretty damn simple. If we do break that 10.2 region to the downside, then I'd be looking looking for a move down to about 9.6-ish region, give or take a few bucks. To the upside, like I said, we can do this in a more expedited fashion. We go down to a lower time frames. If Bitcoin even just gets back above 10.6, sorry, not just gets back above, but starts to close 4-hour doodles above this 200 simple right here, which is about 10,575 and a half, which, well, let's just call it 10.6, right? If we can start closing it back above there, I do believe that this would operate as a bear trap, and we're going back up, not just this high at 10.9, but likely back up to the 11.5 region, 11.3, 11.5 region, somewhere in here. If I put on my drawing tools, we actually have it in. Yeah, it should be converging on this major downtrend line right here, somewhere around 11.4 to 11.5 region. But for right now, the stakes are high, man. If Bitcoin does lose this area, we will come back down to the lows. And anytime that we come back down to the lows, we're once again in the danger zone. The danger zone being this 94 to 9,500-ish region right here, which could initiate that major massive downside that we spoke about earlier. And the thing is that, like I said, as long as we're within the confines of this ascending triangle right here, it's always going to be a consideration that there's major downside present, major downside, imminently present, I should say. The main thing for me is that really waiting for confirmation below this 94, 9,500-ish level right here. That's the big thing. As you can see, so many hunts performed in this region, 1, 2, 3, 4 thus far. I don't really know how many more times it can come down and test it without breaking it. I mean, it's really going to start to put a damper, really put a damper on the overall structure if we do that once again. I would really start to turn bearish if we actually did even violate back below 10,000. Actually, really don't like what I'd see there. And of course, on the daily as it stands right now, you do see that with the advent of the way that we're likely to close this daily doodle right here, which again is still very much far away, very much far away in cryptocurrency terms. We got an hour and 14 minutes left to go, and I would imagine this is going to be one of those times where we do see some price action predicated upon the daily doodle close. But assuming that it does close, something like this, I really wanted to see the yellow 21 cross the upside of the green 50 right here. The fact is that if we close like this, we're probably not going to see them cross. We might see them cross, but it's not going to be strong, and it's certainly not going to be conclusive in and of itself. In order for it to be conclusive, we'd have to close somewhere right around like 10.5, maybe even above 10.5. That would be conclusive for me. But that has been a pretty damn good has been a pretty damn good cross in the history of Bitcoin. The last bullish cross that we got was right on over here from about 3,700, 3,500, leading us all the way up to 14,000. Last cross to the downside, basically all the ones through 2018 were phenomenal. And then of course during the 2016 to 2018 run, pretty damn good signals in there as well. In fact, anytime that we actually let me actually get rid of everything besides these two guys, we can actually do a little bit more of a deep dive into this. So this one's pretty interesting to me. Okay, whoops, that's not what we want to do. There we go. Okay, the yellow and the green. Okay, so as you can see here, and let's actually go to an exchange with more price action history. As you can see here on Bitstamp, we do see a lot of interplay between these two on the daily, right? Whenever they cross the downside, the yellow 21 cross into the downside of the green 55, that is, we do see that Bitcoin usually goes into a long form I shouldn't say long form accumulation. That's not the right terminology, but it goes into a long form consolidation essentially. And once they get golden cross, or not golden, it's not a golden cross. Fucking hell, man. And I really should not say that at all, because a lot of the times people call golden cross on like any moving averages crossing. No, it's only the 50 and the 200. Applies to any time frame, but fair enough. Anyways, you do see that it doesn't veer off for too long before getting the next major move. In fact, this one right over here, just getting this quick consolidation. Once we get the bullish cross to the upside, well, that's when you get your 100% move to the upside over the next 124 days. See the same thing right over here. In fact, we do see them crossing the downside, then crossing the upside right here. After a little bit of downside dramas, and what happens after that? We get about 100% increase to the next. Well, that's not even the next major high. The next major high would put us actually all the way over here before we get the next sort of bearish cross on these. You can see that on this next one, they just barely graze each other for a second here, but that's okay. We go into a little bit of a consolidation right here, and then boom, up once again for another 177% gainer. We're done over the course of 75 days, and then they kind of almost touch right here as we go through a very short consolidation, extremely short consolidation, and kind of similar results you can see. So anyways, my point is that in the current moment of Bitcoin, on the present times, we actually did get the bearish cross for a second, and that does tell me that if Bitcoin were to actually converge on these babies once again and actually get the bullish cross, then I'd be looking for I'd actually be looking for momentum to really start picking up to the upside. But right now we're not going to be getting that tonight, certainly, and I shouldn't say certainly, as long as we don't close above like 10.5, we definitely definitely won't be getting it tonight. If we set it up for tomorrow, perhaps possible, but I mean, you also have to realize that we're going to be setting a massive, girthy Darth Maul dildo right here. I mean, this one's very, 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 very menacing. So I'm not talking about Phantom of the Menace. I'm talking about like Dildos of the Menace, which is completely more powerful. As very rarely do you not see these ones get at least a little bit of follow through. In this case, any sort of follow through, and I'd really start to target moves back down here. That's kind of what's at stake right now. So I'll put back on all the major moving averages, and here we go. There they are. Come on, babies. Get back on the charts. There you are. And let's go over and check out our oscillators. So we haven't even done that today. So daily Stokes still very much to the upside. Very, nice. I do like what I see here. All the crosses from this region have produced some pretty massive gains in price action. Last one, notably, was the 28th of July, coming out of this 9,500 base before the run to 12,100. The time before that was in this 8,000 base right here on this date of 9th of June, before this moved to 14,000, and the time before that was actually all the way on over here in late April from 5,000 before a move to about 9,000-ish region. So all of them pretty damn big from that region, and I would still kind of look at this as, I would still look at this as having a chance here. I don't think it's all well, and I don't think it's all over for the bulls. I don't think it's all over for the bulls just yet, until we actually do see first and foremost that 4-hour 200 exponential moving average broken, and then most importantly this 90, let's call it 94.50 area right here broken to the downside. That's when I really start to not just look at this as likely to go down, but really change around the whole interpretation of what we're looking at right now. Because right now you can still make the argument that we're in a macro uptrend, right? It looks all well and good to me. But if we do start to violate that area, then this is going to look like a major reversal, like a market reversal, and we're going to play at some downside for a long time if that were to happen. But for right now, still far away from happening. So I don't want to make it sound like it's something that's, that I'm looking for to happen like today or tomorrow. It still take its time, but considerations, of course. Anyways, going over here to the 2-day, we won't be closing any 2 days tonight, but I do think it's worth mentioning that we did come down and test the red 10 simple. So far, so good, held off it. But again, it offers up the same sort of trade that we're looking at on the 3-day. If we take out today's daily little low, looking for a move down here, 9.6. It's very tradable, but once again, it puts us in the danger zone. Looking at 2-day Stokes, they are getting going, so I do like that. And the 2-day Stokes have been pretty fucking good as well. Last cross the upside that we saw was 30th of July, coming out of this base right here from about 9,400 all the way to 12,000, kind of the same as the daily. And the time before that, having a bullish cross from anywhere in this territory was back on over here in 6th of February. That was quite literally on this 3,300 low right here. So I do like that. Both those kind of line up with each other. Still would kind of make me err on the side of more agnosticism more than anything, but it's almost like I want to believe in the bulls right now. I jokingly call myself a perma bull, but as a trader, whichever way that we break here, I'm happy to go along with it. That's all that really matters. By the same token, I've been speaking about this ascending triangle for a long time now. The thing is just because it is ascending triangle doesn't mean it's always going to break out to the downside. Yes, it's a lot more statistically likely to, but we are in a counter macro uptrend, which does diminish that probabilities. And the thing is that right now everyone's looking at the same fucking pattern, right? Everyone and the mother has this ascending triangle on their charts. All well and good. I agree. That is what I look at right on over here as well. The thing is, though, if we were to break out to the upside, I don't believe that this would be a good signal trend line right here, right around this 11.4 region, even though it does have confluence with the 0.5 Fibonacci retracement from the ultimate high to the ultimate low of the past market cycle. But what I really need to see to call a resolution to the upside is I need to see a daily total close above this high right here, above about 12,000. That would do it for me. Right now, Bitcoin obviously well away from there, so not really looking at the bullish scenario anytime soon either. So again, I don't think that we have resolution on this whole formation really until like the 15th of September, around that time frame, somewhere between the 15th and maybe like the 25th of September. We have a lot of economic events coming in during that time. We have the Fed meeting, which it's expected that they're going to drop the interest rates. So if anything happens where they don't drop it, or they don't drop it as much as it is expected, and I think it's like 0.25% is expected right now, then we're probably going to see Bitcoin play off that, and it's unlikely to be good. We have seen Bitcoin play off these economic events in the past. It has been more of a recent thing, but definitely a consideration going forwards here, for better or worse. I know it kind of sucks to have to keep in touch with these world economic events, but that's where we are now. It's kind of also a good sign that Bitcoin's maturing. Before Bitcoin wasn't really relevant enough to to matter in that sense. Now it is, and you do see plays off that. So I would say that it's overall a good thing. Of course, we also do have good old Daddy Backed coming to this market as well. Jesus Christ, man, I can't wait till that bitch gets back in here. And just kidding. Very, very impressed by Daddy Backed actually, but more importantly, it is an event, right? And events typically include event psychology. And when we're talking about event psychology in these situations, usually you're going to see a run up coming into those events, which kind of what we saw for the last 6-7 months. And then after that event, after the event, typically you see a short-term dump. Now, longer term, I think something like back into the market's a relatively good thing. I think it kind of like sets in the foundation for the long term. That's good, but do have to be careful with that sort of thing in the short term if you are going to be trading it, because there likely is going to be some pretty volatile moments as, again, it just at the end of the day is an event. Anyways, okay, we spoke about all of that. We spoke about CMEs. Do I want to beat this horse a little bit more here? Yeah, we spoke about the daily. What about the 4-hour there? I don't really see anything of too much interest here. What about the... Actually, I do want to talk about this, but let's go back to spot for that. Let's go back to spot for this. Historical volatility percentile on all time frames is actually still contracting here. So the 4-hour did have a nice move up, but I don't think it's going to get sustained. And look, if it doesn't get sustained, it essentially falls in line with the same trend line that we've been looking at. It's still contracting on the whole. Even with these one-offs, they just don't get sustained. So I do think that we're still looking at this likely tightening up. This also kind of lining up with that date in the middle of September. Not only that, but each and every higher time frame that we go to, actually the contraction gets a little bit more increased. Here's your 8-hour right here, just another kind of test up to the to the regression line. If we look at the 10-hour, same sort of thing, just off to a small pitter patter. In fact, the last $500 move to the downside did absolutely nothing to it. 12-hour even less, and of course the daily is going to be even less than that. So we're still contracting on the whole. That tells us that we are yet to see like the major massive move. So if you are looking for Bitcoin to just whether you're bullish or bearish, whether you're looking for this to just fucking crumble like from here down to 9,000, or if you're looking for it to melt up to 13, 14,000 like from here, very unlikely to happen. We likely see some more contraction first and foremost, and somewhere around middle of September, I'd say it becomes very, 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 very likely from not just an event perspective, but also a technical analysis perspective. Looking at volatility metrics and also just looking at volume metrics down here as well. You can see that it's been contracting for quite some time. Really doesn't have too much more room to go. And where does it come to an apex? Holy shit! Is that middle of September? You're goddamn right it is. Anyways, okay, so we spoke about that. Let's get on to GBDC. GBDC, I don't think really matters all that much anymore because it sounds like an ETF is going. It sounds like they're going to bulldoze their way through on an ETF, whether the SEC likes it or not, which is kind of funny. We do see daily Stoke still up, good. We do see price action dumping all the way down to the 10 simple, thus far held up. Although we do have a massive bearish engulfing dildo in there. Historical volatility percentile still contracting. Holy shit. And the daily jewel is doing something very interesting to me, very interesting here as well. It's actually going through the pink, which you would not expect, especially after a dump like this. You'd expect it to actually be rejecting and inciting we have more continuation of the downside. Perhaps this would actually be a good sign in a sense, but not conclusive in and of itself. Let's look at the weekly. Weekly, very piss poor close. It's reminiscent of CMEs closing well below the red 10 simple. In fact, using it as resistance. I really don't. That's very concerning to me. This is the most concerning thing to me. Both on we see it on spot, we see it on CMEs, and we see it on GBDC. The problem is GBDC and CMEs, they've closed, so those are set in stone. Those will be essentially looking like that. Spot still looks in some way like this. We have the red 10 simple at around 10.5, and remember this closes that Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So it is. I do think that the probabilities of it getting above there, seen as CMEs and GBDC close below, are pretty diminished. I don't think that it happens. It's very, 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 very disappointing because what this was setting up to be was hidden bullish divergence between this point and this point, which would make an easy target back towards like 11.5 region. If we could close the weekly above the 10 simple, that would confirm all this, and it looks like that's going to be in jeopardy right now. So I would not be looking. If we close the weekly below the 10 simple, I'd probably be looking for this to probably come back down to the low side of the range, and just going to look a lot more bearish. But again, still a few more days to go, so all good for now. For now, anyways. Okay, cool. What else do we want to speak about? Let's talk about the Bitcoin dominance chart. I think that the Bitcoin dominance chart did start to get a little bit, like we said, it's been getting a little bit toppy here. Does it have a little bit more room to go? I think we are seeing our first downside of pressure right now. Nice little, shooting star dildo, or do you want to call it a gravestone doji? I don't care what you call it. Typically a sign of indecision, perhaps even reversal. And I would say that if we see any sort of move below today's daily low, we likely do come back down at the very least towards the 72% region. So altcoins are likely to be getting some love right now. And we spoke about this during this morning's video. It's still technically appropriate to be bullish on the Bitcoin dominance chart. The problem is that it's not going to take really all that much to get a nice relief bounce on most of the altcoins. So I would imagine that most of them are actually kind of posturing up for a decent move. So let's go check out the traditional altcoin index, Mr. Cardano, and look at that, putting in a nice hammer deal right there. Good. There you go, Mr. Cardano. Probably even get to rally back up to 450. Not bad, actually, especially for a $400 Satoshi number. So nice. I'd probably be looking for a lot of alts to bounce and rally versus Satoshis here. Now that does not mean that they're going to rally versus US dollar, but that's going to be more dependent upon Bitcoin's move. So I'd imagine that if Bitcoin does move down, then we'll likely do see most altcoins lose versus US dollar value, but gain perhaps versus Satoshis, as long as we don't probably break the 9,400 region, of which I'd imagine that'd create a whole new dilemma for the whole sphere. Let's see. Did gold confirm its reversal? I believe it has. Gold closing below the yellow 21 today. Perhaps this is a harbinger of despair as well, as gold and Bitcoin have been trading together pretty damn well, although not as much recently. In fact, if we throw in the correlation coefficient here, you're gonna notice that it's certainly not as much as it was beforehand. So they have been losing their correlation. I don't think I'd necessarily say that the correlation is nil now, but we actually we have a negative correlation ever since 26th of August. I didn't really check that, but let's look at the weekly. It's not really to be used on a daily. It's going to be too reactive on a daily. Trends happen on a daily, but the trends that matter most happen on a weekly, especially for something like gold, which has been around for for forever, really. Looking at this right here, still positively correlated, but certainly is diminishing a bit. This does look like the reversal is here, and so we're going to be coming back down to like 1480, 1475-ish region, and I'll be looking for a bounce there, and probably takes its time. I do still think that longer term, gold is still bullish, but for now, we're going to likely play out the consolidation sideways and down is the name of the game for now. And as long as we don't really violate like the 1450-ish region here, I would still remain kind of long-term bullish on it. Let's go check out we look at the dominance chart. Let's go check out the top two shitcoins, huh? Let's start with ladies first. Mrs. Litecoin right here. You're up. And what do we think of her? Well, back down to the lows. I'm curious what the 12-hour looks like. Wow, that is fucking scary. Got 12-hour Stochastic having a fresh cross to the downside. We got RSI getting rejected back into the bearish control zone. It wants to stay there. Oh, man. We got historical volatility percentile extremely low. This only has one way to go. Fucking hell, man. If Mrs. Litecoin does actually come back down and break $63.50 on like a 12-hour dildo closing basis to the downside, the next move is likely to be brutal. I would be looking for a move all the way down to about $55.50. That's going to be about a 12.5%, 13% drop down. Jesus Christ, man. Powerful. I would be looking for a bounce here, to be fair. So 200 simple, just like the 200 exponential moving average, very, very likely that you do get play off it. But really, I mean, this just starts to look like a lower high. If this is a lower high, then we're likely we could be getting ready for lower low. I don't even want to say it, but it sounds so awful. But yeah, if we do break the 200 simple here, I would be very willing to call that it's a macro reversal and we're going to be coming back down to the lows. But as you can see, still plenty of room before that even becomes a consideration. Looking at Mr. Buterol here, same thing, looks very, very sick. Sitting on its lows right now. Let's go back to that 12-hour. I do like the 12-hour look. We did retest our prior lows. That's okay. We haven't broken them just yet. But the second that we get a 12-hour dildo closing, anywhere below this like 166 region, 166 and a half, any 12-hour dildo close below there, and I'd be looking for the next move to take us likely down to this region right here. Is the next like relevant level right around about 149 and a half, 150-ish region. By the same token, could it reverse here, dig in and pop back up? If we could get back above, 180, that would start to look pretty damn good for an actual confirmed breakout of this falling piece of the upside. Technically would have a measure move pointed towards about 260, although I would take it one step at a time. I'd only target, 205 first and 235. And then, yeah, we could talk about 265, 275. But, we're not really seeing. I mean, do we must have some sort of divergences on this, man. It's been down for so fucking long. It's insane. Do we have any bullish divergence here on a daily? We do not, as it stands, at all, actually. What about Mrs. Litecoin? Do we have any bullish divergence here? No, motherfucker. God damn. The daily jewel for Mrs. Litecoin could be interesting. If we do see the pink cross the upside of the white, that's going to be setting up. Maybe not for this drive, but maybe the next one, and that would be a humongous buy signal. I'd imagine we'd get a perfect if we actually did come down to the 200 simple on the weekly, somewhere around $55.50. That'd probably be a major buy in my opinion. Of course, it's not financial advice, not a financial advisor. Just sharing my opinion on this market right now. But yeah, that's kind of what's at stake right now. I do think that you could also make the argument that perhaps we actually even did break it here, but that remains to be seen. Especially if Mrs. Litecoin loses this level right here, that will not be the case, and we will be trending down. The problem is with Mrs. Litecoin, we're below all major moving averages. Look, just like when Bitcoin was above all major moving averages, I can't be bearish on that. When Mrs. Litecoin below it, I can't be bullish on that. I mean, I have to be bearish on it, really. In fact, I need to take another sip of this water. I'm almost out, actually. And there we go. All right, off for another 5,000 miles or whatever the saying is. Anyways, let's go check out traditional markets. I'm curious how they closed. 298. So decent close on the day. Did close as a doji little, but more importantly, the weekly is going to be closing above the red. This is really what I want to see for Bitcoin. Now, I do think actually that because traditional markets did close above this region and are showing strength right here, and really starting to make me think that this is going to be the bear trap rather than coming down to 275 being the bear trap. I do think that that's actually good for Bitcoin because on the whole, we see these two assets trading together for the most part. I mean, bringing it up right here with the BLX index and putting SPY onto a line chart as well and getting rid of the moving averages. We can, just lining them up, you don't need a correlation coefficient for this. You can quite literally just, you tell me, man. You can just line it up with basically the beginning of Bitcoin. These guys have been rallying at the same time. They've been going through sideways consolidations and downwards markets at the same time. Right here and right here. They go parabolic right here, right here, right here. And more recently in this region as well. They even bottomed at the same time in this last phase. So I would say that a bullish stock market actually does bode well for Bitcoin in general. Again, I know that a lot of people would not like to hear that statement, but that's, again, man, you got to come at these things agnostically, and looks, you tell me again. Let me know what you think in the comments. That looks pretty fucking uncanny to me. Now, they're not exactly 100% matched up, but they don't need to be. They're kind of getting the overall general sentiments. You do see in general that SPY is rallying first, but Bitcoin tops out first. So Bitcoin typically tops out first, signaling the end of the run. SPY typically rallies up first, signaling the beginning of a bull run, and SPY is actually looking pretty damn good right here. In fact, when you do put Bitcoin on a line chart, it doesn't look bad. In fact, we can actually look at it for a second. Let's go back here. Let's go back over to Bitcoin spot right here. But I would, looking at traditional markets, that's what I need to see in order to get bullish. I suppose I'd have to be bullish now. Then again, it's such a fucking politically driven market, man. I don't want to. Oh man, it's there's a reason why I'm not trading traditional right now. It's because it's a politically driven market, and politically driven market means that one tweet, one little remark here or there completely sets off the market. Anyways, looking at a line chart, we actually, does this look terrible right now? It doesn't look terrible. Again, would actually look like hidden bullish divergence between this point and this point, but we need to confirm that weekly above the 10 simple. Otherwise, that is not in play, unfortunately. So the bull's going to lose a lot of their case relatively soon with failure to act in the next couple days. Anyways, putting them back on, and what else I want to talk about? I suppose that's probably mostly it. Let's go down let's actually check out the crypto fear and greed index. We are still at a 43. So again, spending a lot of time in the fearful zone. You'd really expect a stark contrast and a stark reaction out of this region if we are in a macro uptrend. So this is also concerning as well. In fact, the only times that we've really spent a lot of time in the fearful zone were during 2018. it's very concerning. You'd expect like the optimistic hits in 2018 to act as like the fearful zones during 2019. Well, we don't necessarily have that just yet. Yes, we did rally off the 5 read right here. That was very concerning, but to not really see it sustained is not the same thing. Anyways, I'm curious. I was looking at this earlier. Is this still in play? I was looking at this as potential inverted head and shoulders. Well, not so much. If we get a fake out like this, can't call that an inverted head and shoulders. Jesus Christ. Fucking hell. Anyways, back on a Bitcoin spot, and let's go down to lower time frames and start to wrap this bitch up. Okay, so really, the biggest consideration for me right now would really be the 4-hour moving averages here. That's what I have my eyes on. In fact, just 3 of them really mean the most. As long as Bitcoin's kind of stuck within this region and doesn't break down, inevitably we actually will get the golden cross, just by the nature of it being above the 200 exponential moving average. But that also means that if Bitcoin does lose the 200 exponential moving average right here, I would be targeting to move back down to the low side of the range, 9,500. Remember, historical volatility percentile on this time frame is still set. It's still primed to go. So that move could actually be sustained and lead on to a greater move on the higher time frames, which if we're talking about a greater move, then we perhaps even talk about resolution below 9,500, 9,400. That's when things start to get pretty fucking nasty. Anyways, as long as Bitcoin kind of goes sideways here without breaking it, fine. I do think that that actually be the most bullish thing. In fact, that would make this kind of look like a bear trap, and just kind of like a stop, stop hunt to the downside, of course. But it's not until we get back above the white 200 simple right here at about 10,575 or 10,600, if you want to be more conservative, where I would say that the bulls have like kind of regained control. As long as we're low there, it's not, it's certainly it's a little bit more pressure on, but until we actually break the same region right here, as far as a trader as far as trading goes, I can't really be taking a trade. Like I said, if you do want, I do think that the classic easy trade right here is if we take out today's daily little low at 10.2, then we probably do initiate that downside regardless of it. But still, I'd really want to see like a close below this and preferably an open and close. But I think that'd probably leave up price action too late. So really, it's going to come down to that. We do see all momentum oscillators on lower time frames headed down right here. I mean, if you had to call it right here, it would not look good. 4-hour Stokes wanted to have a fresh cross to the downside. 4-hour Jewel, that's a sell. 3-hour Jewel is like a perfect sell actually. It got the top, but how much do we ground up this region? Who knows? Also some bearish divergence along the way, but 3-hour Stokes, same thing. I'm gonna guess that 2-hour Stokes are also down, and same thing with hourly. So the more sideways that Bitcoin goes here, then the more that it allows us to reset. But if you're bearish, you want to see this break like within the next day or so. If you're bullish, you just want to see it not break for the next day or so, and then you probably float back up to that 10.6 region. And once we regain this region right here, I'll be looking for another move back up, basically into the lower 11,000s, really. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. That's what's at stake. Again, pretty damn normal and natural to test a cross like this. Now the real question is, do we hold it? And if it does hold, if it does, as long as we're closing 4-hour deltas above here, I'm happy to hold my long position, kind of like a free roll in the way that I think about it. If you're familiar with poker terms, which I'm not that much, but I'm happy to hold my long as long as we're above there. If we do lose it, I'll probably actually just dump my longs, hold my short calls, make money on that, and then just kind of hope and pray that Bitcoin doesn't break below 9,400, because man. Fair enough. As a trader, have to deal with it, of course, but it's a lot more easy in a bull market. I'll put it that way, man. Again, I do this for a living, so I'm very unashamedly ready to admit that in a bull market, a lot more fucking easy. So, anyways, with that said, I think I'll be leaving off here. Let me just make sure that I didn't miss anything. I think we spoke about just about everything. All right. Yeah, fair enough. This video has already been 40 fucking 2 minutes. What the fuck? It literally feels like it was 20 minutes. This is insane. This is insanity. Anyways, I do want to wish you all on this nice Friday. I'll be back on tomorrow. Of course, reminder again that the sale goes through Sunday, so definitely check that out if you are interested. And so without further ado, I'll let you go. Take care and see you soon.